So well prepared.
Yeah, well,
We're always super prepared.
we have
always.
mentioned once or twice that, we are proficient at winging it. So why stop now,
Yeah, if it's worked so far.
right? Hello, everybody.
Greetings.
So we're
Welcome.
like on Genesis 26.
Yeah.
Yep. Basically, when we last left off, Sarah had just died, and Isaac got a new wife, and then let's see, did Jacob steal Esau's
Yep.
blessing?
Yep, that was the final thing, really, was the birthright and all
Yeah,
that.
you stole the birthright. Esau traded it for stew.
Yes.
Right.
Which,
And then he also are we at the blessing yet?
That's the very next chapter, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, next chapter
So
two or
Isaac.
something.
Yeah.
So we get a little bit about Isaac first, I believe.
Right. All right. So let's do some reading then. So now there was a famine in the land, besides the previous famine that had occurred in the days of Abraham. So Isaac went to Gerar, to Abimelech, king of the Philistines. The Lord appeared to him and said, "Do not go down to Egypt. Stay in the land of which I tell you to. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with you and bless you. For to you and your descendants I will give all these lands, and I will establish the oath which I swore to your father Abraham. I will multiply your descendants as the stars of the heaven, and will grant to your descendants all these lands. And by your descendants all the nations of the earth shall be blessed. Because Abraham obeyed me and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws." So Isaac lived in Gerar, where the men of the place asked about his. Oh, here we go again. When the men of the place asked about his wife, he said, "She is my sister." For he was afraid to say, "my wife," thinking, "the men of this place might come kill me on account of Rebekah, for she is beautiful." It came about, when he had been there a long time, that Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked out through a window and saw, and behold, Isaac was caressing his wife Rebekah. Then Abimelech came Then Abimelech called Isaac and said, "Behold, certainly she is your wife." "Then how did you say, 'She is my sister'?" And Isaac said to him, "Because I said, I might die on account of her." Abimelech said, "What is it that you have done to us? One of the people might easily have lain with your wife, and you have been brought guilt upon us." So Abimelech charged all the people, saying, "He who touches this man or his wife shall surely be put to death." Now Isaac sowed in that land and reaped in the same years 100-fold. And the Lord blessed him, and the man became rich, and continued to grow richer until he became very wealthy, for he had possessions of flocks and herds and a great household, so that the Philistines envied him. Now all the wells which his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham his father, the Philistines stopped up by filling them with earth. Then Abimelech said to Isaac, "Go away from us, for you are too powerful for us." And Isaac departed from there and camped in the valley of Gerar and settled there. So once again, we get the tried and true, "Well, she's my sister," because
It's
it
definitely
works
been tried.
every time.
It hasn't been true in any sense of the word, though.
Apple doesn't fall far from the tree, I guess.
Right? You think at some point Isaac would have heard that, or that Jacob would have heard that Isaac already tried this and then been like, "Hey, maybe I shouldn't do the exact same thing that everyone else keeps doing." And like every single time they do it, well, actually, this is the first time that God hasn't explicitly like gone to the person in charge of the nation he's in and told him, "Hey, that's actually his wife, not his sister. Don't touch her."
Well, to be fair, the king didn't try to consummate a relationship with the wife in question at the time.
Yeah.
So now we get into them fighting over wells again, which, water is important, especially when you live in a place without a whole lot of it. Then Isaac dug again the wells of water which had been dug in the days of his father Abraham, for the Philistines had stopped them up after the death of Abraham, and he gave them the same names which his father had given them. But when Isaac's servants dug in the valley and found there a well of flowing water, the herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with the herdsmen of Isaac, saying, "The water is ours." So he named the well Esek, because they contended with him. Then they dug another well, and they quarreled over it too, so he named it Sitnah. He moved away from there and dug another well, and they did not quarrel over it, so he named it Rehoboth, I think. For he said, "At last the Lord has made room for us, and we will be fruitful in the land." Then he went up there from there to Beersheba. The Lord appeared to him the same night and said, "I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not fear, for I am with you. I will bless you and multiply your descendants for the sake of my servant Abraham." So he built an altar there and called upon the name of the Lord and pitched his tent there. And there Isaac's servants dug a well. Then Abimelech came to him from Gerar with his advisor Ahuzath and Phicol, the commander of his army, which coincidentally aren't they? So Abimelech and Phicol, I think they also bartered with Abraham at one point in time for this around here, didn't they? The names, I'm pretty sure, unless I'm just because I've
feel like
read this so many times, I'm just pretending, misremembering.
Did they join in the battles that were fought with like Sodom back in the day? Maybe.
Perhaps I know Abimelech's name has come up quite a bit, and so has Phicol.
Yeah, so I just looked it up. Genesis 21:22. King Abimelech and Phicol, or however you say his name, spoke with Abraham to establish the treaty of peace and to secure the covenant regarding a disputed well. Sounds super familiar.
Right. So then Isaac said to them, "Why have you come to me, since you hate me and have sent me away from you?" They said, "We see plainly that the Lord has been with you." So we said, "Let there now be an oath between us, even between you and us, and let us make a covenant with you." Again, basically, history repeats itself. Excuse me. That you will do us no harm, just that we have not touched you and have done to you nothing but good, and have sent you away in peace. You are now the blessed of the Lord. Then he made them a feast, and they ate and drank. In the morning they arose early and exchanged oaths. Then Isaac sent them away, and they departed from him in peace. Now it came about on the same day that Isaac's servants came in and told him about the well which they had dug, and said to him, "We have found water." So he called it Sheba, therefore the name of the city in Beersheba to this day. When Esau was 40 years old, he married Judith, the daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and Basemeth, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, and they brought grief to Isaac and Rebekah. The plot thickens.
Yeah.
There's another common theme as common as claiming that your wife is your sister is also taking foreign wives and then them worshiping foreign gods.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also just find it interesting that Abimelech and Phicol basically almost, it's not quite verbatim, but basically did the same exact agreement with Isaac that they had with Abraham. They like basically went back on their agreement that they had with Abraham, like, oh well, Abraham's dead, so now that's null and void now.
Mhm.
And then when Isaac went through and basically redug all the wells, they're like, well, let us make a covenant with you now.
Right.
It's just like,
After
why didn't we
they
just leave
fought
the
over the
covenant to
wells
begin
for a
with?
while,
Yeah.
all their servants are like, "No, it's my well. No, it's my well. Well, I'll just
Well, and
fill
like
it
they
in
just
then."
thought they could like best the Lord, and then when they're like, like God has anointed Isaac, we might as well like stop fighting with him.
Right. It's gonna prove fruitless, I imagine.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was
Ultimately,
Genesis.
it's smarter than continuing.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
One would have.
Just
So I'm surprised that they were smart enough to, because the Philistines in general were never very cared too fondly for the people that believed in God. Okay, so now that was Genesis 26. Now we're working on Genesis 27. Now it came about when Isaac was old and his eyes. Okay, so here we're getting into Jacob and Esau. Now it came about when Isaac was old and his eyes were too dim to see, that he called his older son Esau and said to him, "My son." And he said to him, "Here I am." Isaac said, "Behold now, I am old and I do not know the day of my death. Now then, please take your gear, your quiver, and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt game for me, and prepare a savory dish for me as I love, and bring it to me that I may eat, so that my soul may bless you before I die." Rebekah was listening while Isaac spoke to his son Esau. So when Esau went to the field to hunt for game to bring home, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "Behold, I heard your father speak to your brother Esau, saying, 'Bring me some game and prepare a savory dish for me, that I may eat and bless you in the presence of my Lord before my death.' Now, therefore, my son, listen to me as I command you. Go now to the flock and bring me 2 choice young goats from there, that I may prepare them as a savory dish for your father, such as he loves. Then you shall bring it to your father, that he may eat, so that he may bless you before his death." Jacob answered to his mother Rebekah, "Behold, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. Perhaps my father will feel me, then I will be as a deceiver in his sight, and I will bring upon myself a curse and not a blessing." But his mother said to him, "Your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my voice and go get them for me." So he went and got them and brought them to his mother, and his mother made savory food as his father loved. Then Rebekah took the garments of Esau, her elder son, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob, her younger son. She put the skins of young goats on his hands and on the smooth parts of his neck. She also gave the savory food and the bread which she had made to her son Jacob. So this is kind of the start of Jacob's deceptive career.
Well, I
Well, I guess
mean,
not the start. I
The
guess it's
second, yeah.
yeah, he
it's
already stole his birthright.
right.
Well, he traded for it. He didn't.
That's true. He didn't
sort
like.
of-
He deceived them into it. Like,
Yeah.
Well, he didn't. I mean, he didn't necessarily deceive him, but he held him, held him ransom due to his hunger. It's like, nope, you can't have any food.
yeah,
Just it just boggles me that Esau would be so hungry that he would just.
Esau clearly has like, I don't know if he just doesn't think long term. He doesn't think ahead very well, but Esau
Well, yeah,
might be a little slow.
I think it puts into perspective like what I think we mentioned this in the last recording, but that is like how the world focuses on the here and now instead of your earthly riches in the long run. And that's exactly what Esau did. Is he was worried about his current state and not his God-given right down the road.
Right.
Yeah,
Which is a trap I think we all fall into, at least from time to time.
yeah. But
To
that
be
being
human.
said, going too far to the other end and being super deceptive and sneaky for long term benefit isn't the right way either, I would argue.
Well,
No,
I would
no, they're
argue
both
that
at
being
fault.
deceptive in general is probably a bad
Right.
plan.
Right,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes. No, they're both at fault in that first interaction of them with the stew, but for different reasons.
All right. So then he came to his father and said, "My father." And he said, "Here I am. Who are you, my son?" Jacob said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Get up, please. Sit and eat of my game, that you may bless me." Isaac said to his son, "How is it that you have that you have it so quickly, my son?" He said, "Because the Lord your God caused it to happen to me." Then Isaac said to Jacob, "Please come close, so that I may feel you, my son, whether you are really my son Esau or not." So Jacob came close to Isaac his father, and he felt him and said, "The voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau." He did not recognize him, because his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him, and he said, "Are you really my son Esau?" And he said, "I am." So he said, "Bring it to me, and I will eat of my son's game, that I may bless you." And he brought it to him, and he ate. He also brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, "Please come close and kiss me, my son." So he came close and kissed him. When he smelled the smell of his garments, he blessed him and said, "See the smell of my son. It is like the smell of a field which the Lord has blessed. Now may God give you the dew of the heaven and the fatness of the earth, and an abundance of grain and new wine. May people serve you and nations bow down to you. Be masters of your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be those who curse you, and blessed be those who bless you." Now it came about, as soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, and Jacob had hardly gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from hunting. Then he made savory food and brought it to his father, and he said to his father, "Let my father arise and eat of his son's game, that you may bless me." Isaac his father said to him, "Who are you?" And he said, "I am your son, your firstborn, Esau." Then Isaac trembled violently and said, "Who was he that hunted game and brought it to me, so that I ate of it before you came, and blessed him? Yes, and he shall be blessed." When Esau heard the words of his father, he cried out with an exceedingly great and bitter cry, and said to his father, "Bless me, even so, O my father." And he said, "Your brother came deceitfully and has taken away your blessing." Then he said, Is he not rightly named Jacob? For he has supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he has taken away my blessing. And he said, Have you not reserved a blessing for me? But Isaac replied to Esau, Behold, I have made him your master, and all his relatives I have given to him as servants. And with grain and new wine I have sustained him. Now as for you, what can I do, my son? Esau said to his father, Do you have only one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. So Esau lifted his voice and wept. Then Isaac his father answered and said to him, Behold, away from the fertility of the earth shall be your dwelling, and away from the dew of heaven from above. By your sword you shall live, and your brother you shall serve. But it shall come about when you become restless, that you will break his yoke from your neck. So Esau bore a grudge against Jacob because of the blessing with which his father had blessed him. And Esau said to himself, The days of mourning for my father are near. Then I will kill my brother Jacob. Now, when the words of her elder son Esau were reported to Rebekah, she sent and called her younger son Jacob and said to him, Behold, your brother Esau is consoling himself concerning you by planning to kill you. Now, therefore, my son, obey my voice and arise. Flee to Haran to my brother Laban. Stay with him for a few days until your brother's fury subsides, until your brother's anger against you subsides and he forgets what you did to him. Then I will send and get you from there. Why should I be bereaved of both of you in one day? Rebekah said to Isaac, I am tired of living because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob takes a wife from the daughters of Heth, like these, from the daughters of the land, what good will my life be to me? So that's Genesis 27. So obviously,
Honestly, it's kind of, you have to have a little sympathy for Esau at least.
well,
You
yeah,
kind of,
kind of. I mean, he was
Yep.
robbed at least the second time. The first time he
Yeah.
was, I don't want to say fooled, but he was,
I mean, he had doing in it at
yeah,
least.
right. He was short-sighted, as was mentioned earlier. But the second time he was literally, I mean, his father was deceived and his blessing was stolen as the
Yeah.
firstborn.
What a great mom.
Right?
Like, she basically did all of this. Like, and I mean, it goes back to the beginning with both Esau and Jacob, because we know when they're born, we find out that like the older will serve the younger, and that's this being fulfilled now. And just all of that. But like from the get go, obviously we knew that Isaac loved Esau more, and then Rebecca loved Jacob more. But yeah, just the deceit in Rebecca and then Jacob to follow through with it is wild.
Right. Well, at least to
Yeah.
Jacob's benefit, he did protest, or he tried to protest.
Yeah.
But
And also, but
very
then,
minimally.
yeah, I mean, but
But it was there.
yeah.
You can't say it wasn't.
yeah. Then you can kind of understand. Like Esau, like it goes too far into just planning murder as retribution.
Well, yeah.
But you can kind of get it.
I mean, yeah, that is very much so the human instinct to get back one better or a lot better in that sense. But yeah.
All right, let's see. On to Genesis 28.
I want someone else to read to give you a break.
Sure, yeah, go for it.
Okay. Then Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said to him, You shall not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Paddan Aram, to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take yourself a wife from there of the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. May God Almighty bless you and make you fruitful and multiply you, that you may be an assembly of peoples, and give you the blessing of Abraham to you and your descendants with you, that you may inherit the land in which you are a stranger, which God gave to Abraham. So Isaac sent Jacob away, and he went to Paddan Aram to Laban, the son of Bethuel, the Syrian, the brother of Rebekah, the mother of Jacob and Esau. Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him away to Paddan Aram to take himself a wife from there. And that as he blessed him, he gave him a charge, saying, You shall not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. And that Jacob had obeyed his father and his mother and had gone to Paddan Aram. Also Esau saw that the daughters of Canaan did not please his father Isaac. So Esau went to Ishmael and took Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebajoth, to be his wife in addition to the wives he had. Now Jacob went out from Beersheba and went toward Haran. So he came to a certain place and stayed there all night, because the sun had set. And he took one of the stones of that place and put it at his head, and he lay down in that place to sleep. Then he dreamed, and behold, a ladder was set up on the earth, and its top reached to heaven. And there the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. And behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord, God of Abraham, your father, and the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie I will give to you and your descendants. Also your descendants shall be as the dust of the earth. You shall spread abroad to the west and to the east, to the north and to the south. And in you and in your seed all the families of the earth shall be blessed. Behold, I am with you and will keep you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this land, for I will not leave you until I have done what I have spoken to you. Then Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it. And he was afraid and said, How awesome is this place! This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. Then Jacob rose early in the morning and took the stone that he had put at his head, set it up as a pillar, and poured oil on top of it. And he called the name of that place Bethel, but the name of that city had been Luz previously. Then Jacob made a vow, saying, If God will be with me and keep me in this way that I am going, and give me bread to eat and clothing to put on, so that I come back to my father's house in peace, then the Lord shall be my God, and this stone which I have set as a pillar shall be God's house, and all that you give me, I will surely give a tenth to you.
So let's see here. What's the significance of Bethel? I think we brought it up previously, right?
Yeah, I believe we had the question of if Bethel and Bethlehem were the same place, and we figured
That's
out
right.
they were not.
They were not. Yeah.
I think one's on like the northern side and one's on the southern side of the nation.
And isn't this the same location that Abraham previously set up an altar earlier as well?
Can't remember if they set up an altar here or if it was just the literal translation of Bethel is house of God.
Right,
So,
hence the name.
located 11 miles north of Jerusalem.
So Abraham set up he built an altar when he was still called Abram in the hill country just east of Bethel. So pretty close.
Yeah.
I think that came up in Genesis 12:8, I believe.
Yeah, so that was in Canaan.
Yeah.
And then Jacob ended up naming it Bethel. And then it also later on, this isn't directly related. I was just kind of doing some research here. It says that during the period of the judges, the Ark of the Covenant was housed in Bethel.
Interesting.
And
then it eventually disappeared and supposedly is in Ethiopia, if you trust the Church of Ethiopia.
Interesting.
Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, there's some. First, he kind of gives just a directive Isaac gives to Jacob of, don't marry any wives around here, and you should probably go before your brother kills you. And then his brother, like Esau, hears that and is like, "Oh, I'll just marry one of these wives too, just to add to my collection."
I mean, I have a hard enough time handling one.
I think the treatment of them was a little not quite so nice back then.
Don't you say?
It's probably fine.
But then this is Jacob's ladder. The dream he has.
It's a pretty interesting concept. It's mentioned in the New Testament. Jesus brings it up when talking to Nathanael in John chapter 1, verse 51. He just kind of briefly alludes to it.
Yeah. And basically the God reiterates the same covenant he made with Abram when he made him Abraham, and also Isaac, or not Isaac, Isaac. And also the very end part where he says, if God will be with me and keep me in his way that I'm going, and give me bread to eat and clothing to put on, so that I come back to my father's house in peace, then the Lord shall be my God. That kind of alludes later on to like when they're wandering through the desert for 40 years, because he literally gives them bread to eat during that time. So a lot of these things, and then like the I will surely give a tenth to you, that foreshadows later tithing rules and things like that.
Yeah, I think there's another spot that kind of brings it up too. I think it might be in Deuteronomy.
Yeah, the
Yeah, I
odd
believe
thing,
so.
I might be wrong on that though, but
thing that strikes me as odd is the wording, because it almost sounds like he's bargaining with God. Be like, if you do these things for me, then I'll proclaim you to be God. And so that kind
That's
of
true.
struck me as kind of a, I don't know, but
Well, there's multiple times in Genesis specifically where the characters do bargain with God, because like earlier he was bargaining with God over the destruction of Sodom. He's like,
yeah.
if
Right.
there's 100 righteous people there, surely you won't destroy it. And he's like, sure, I won't destroy it for 100. And then he keeps whittling it
Right.
down to
But
10.
wait, what about
Right.
50?
But
Yeah,
that doesn't smack of like selfishness though, really, necessarily. I mean,
that's
I'm sure
true.
he knew that his nephew was there, right? So I'm sure that was part of it. But it wasn't like do all these things for me and then I'll proclaim you God.
Well, and like we see
Yeah.
this again, not in this particular story, but with Gideon, when he's telling the Lord, like, okay, I'm going to lay out this lambskin, like make all the ground wet with dew but the lambskin. And then God does that. And he's like, well, wait, if it's really you, now make the whole lambskin wet but nothing else. And God does it. And then he asks him like a third thing. And then finally he's like, okay, like, I believe you now. And it's just like, it's one of the only times that like God, because there's other times where we see that where people are trying to bargain with God in that sense, and God not necessarily just like strikes them down, but does not bless them. And Gideon is like one of the only examples where it's like, you know what? I'll watch out for you with this. Like, I will give you all the signs you ask for to believe.
There are numerous times where God shows so much more patience and grace than I would. If I were all powerful and that were tried
Yeah.
with me, I would be what atheists think the Old Testament God was
Right,
like,
exactly.
and just be like,
I
quit
was
messing
just
around, just smack them.
I was just
Well, I
thinking
think-
about that because everybody is all like, "Oh, the Old Testament God was, uh, what's the right word for it?"
They always call him like they always claim the Old Testament God is like a vengeful, bloodthirsty God.
Yeah.
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 And it's just like, I don't know. Like, if you
Well,
were
and
put
that-
in that position, would you be bargaining with ants?
Exactly. Your creation of ants too.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Exactly.
I think that really like it puts into perspective, like that is the human nature of us. Like none of us or very few of us would really be willing to put up with this much just ridiculousness from people. Like
Right.
the constant lying, the constant turning and going against exactly what I'm telling you to do, even when you say you're going to do the things and then you just blatantly go out into left field, for lack
Well,
of a
it's
better
like, I mean,
analogy.
it's obviously the more grandiose version of being a parent, right? Because you're a parent and say that your kids are kind of under your umbrella where they're listening to you or you're in charge of them for, a minimum of 18 years, often a little bit more if they go to college and stuff, right? But just imagine, we only have to deal with that crap while they're like, until they're 20, 21, something like that. And he's been putting up with us for centuries.
Yep. Literally since he created us. Like, and it's just one generation after another after another. He even wiped most of us out, and then we still did it again.
I
You
don't
have
have the
to wonder
patience
if
with
at times,
toddlers, let alone,
right? You have to wonder if at times he's like, maybe I shouldn't have given him free will.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, oh, this is a bigger hassle than I wanted it to be.
Well, then that just plays into the whole fun of like trying to comprehend the concept of God being outside of our time, space, and matter. Because
Right.
then he
Right.
sees everything. So he's like, like even for all these struggles, like I know the end and I know the good that's going to come from it, and like all of the people that are going to come to me in the end. So it's like all worth it, but yet
Right.
still has to deal with our finite little tiny brains that are like, but we need help right now.
Right. Well, okay, so this is kind of like a really odd thing to think about. But like, so if you are a divine being that where time is observable in the same way that you look at a piece of paper or whatever the case, just to use as a very crude
Well, he
analogy.
created time, so
Right. But just, so you can just look at it and go, yeah. Do you think he ever goes, I'm not looking, I want to get surprised this time?
that's the question of can God create a rock so heavy that even he can't lift it? If God is omniscient, could he hide something from himself? That's possibly where.
It gets a little in the weeds, but I was doing it for humor. But
because of the Trinity, seems like possibly the Holy Spirit and Jesus, some things could be hidden from them, because Jesus does say only the Father knows the time and the place of the second coming. But
right.
the Trinity itself is one of those things that even like the entire history of church fathers don't really fully comprehend.
Well, and again, I think that is like you're trying to describe an infinite God with a finite brain. Like we don't have all the knowledge. And like there's some things that I think we as Christians and just we as people in general need to be able to take in faith and trust in, like, we can't understand it. And that's just, we got to be okay with that. And that's
I think
really
as
hard
humans,
for people.
As humans, we like to fantasize about things too. And, to probably a stupid extent, we daydream about things and whatever, that's just
Come
one
up
of
with
the
ridiculous theories that
right. We have
probably
imaginations,
wildly
if nothing
wrong.
else.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're moving into Genesis 29 when Jacob meets Rachel.
Yeah, I'll take this one. All right. Then Jacob went on his journey and came to the land of the people of the east. As he looked, he saw a well in the field, and behold, 3 flocks of sheep lying beside it. For out of that well the flocks were watered. The stone on the well's mouth was large. And when all the flocks were gathered there, the shepherds would roll the stone from the mouth of the well and water the sheep, and put the stone back in its place over the mouth of the well. Jacob said to them, My brothers, where do you come from? They said, We are from Haran. He said to them, Do you know Laban, the son of Nahor? And they said, We know him. He said to them, Is it well with him? They said, It is well, and see, Rachel his daughter is coming with the sheep. He said, Behold, it is still high day. It is not time for the livestock to be gathered together. Water the sheep and go, pasture them. But they said, We cannot until all the flocks are gathered together and the stone is rolled from the mouth of the well. Then we water the sheep. While he was still speaking with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she was a shepherdess. Now as soon as Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, Jacob came near and rolled the stone from the well's mouth and watered the flock of Laban, his mother's brother. Then Jacob kissed Rachel and wept aloud. And Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's kinsman and that he was Rebekah's son. And she ran and told her father. As soon as Laban heard the news about Jacob, his sister's son, he ran to meet him and embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his house. Jacob told Laban all these things, and Laban said to him, Surely you are my bone and my flesh. And he stayed with him a month. Then Laban said to Jacob, Because you are my kinsman, should you therefore serve me for nothing? Tell me, what shall be your wages? Now Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the older was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah's eyes were weak, but Rachel was beautiful in form and appearance. Jacob loved Rachel, and he said, I will serve you 7 years for your younger daughter Rachel. Laban said, It is better that I give her to you than that I should give her to any other man. Stay with me. So Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed to him but a few days because of the love he had for her. Then Jacob said to Laban, Give me my wife, that I may go in to her, for my time is completed. So Laban gathered together all the people of the place and made a feast. But in the evening he took his daughter Leah and brought her to Jacob, and he went into her. Laban gave his female servant Zilpah to his daughter Leah to be her servant. And in the morning, behold, it was Leah. And Jacob said to Laban, What is this you have done to me? Did I not serve with you for Rachel? Why then have you deceived me? Funny how deception works. A little bit of payback. Laban said, It is not so done in our country to give the younger before the firstborn. Complete the week of this one, and I will give you the other also in return for serving me another 7 years. Jacob did so and completed her week. Then Laban gave him his daughter Rachel to be his wife. Laban gave his female servant Bilhah to his daughter Rachel to be her servant. So Jacob went into Rachel also, and he loved Rachel more than Leah and served Laban another 7 years. When the Lord saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. And Leah conceived and bore a son, and she called his name Reuben, for she said, because the Lord has looked upon my affliction, for now my husband will love me. She conceived again and bore a son, and said, because the Lord has heard that I am hated, he has given me this son also. And she called his name Simeon. Again she conceived and bore a son, and said, now this time my husband will be attached to me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore his name was called Levi. And she conceived again and bore a son, and said, this time I will praise the Lord. Therefore she called his name Judah. Then she ceased bearing. So many sons.
Right?
They're not even
We're not
halfway
even done.
through.
No.
So I have to get 2 horrible puns out of the way first. First, there's the obvious, how's Laban? He's well at the well. So there's that one. And the other one, the other reason the firstborn was named Reuben is because he made a fantastic sauerkraut and corned beef sandwich.
I wasn't aware that he was German.
Well, actually, when was the sauerkraut sandwich invented? Maybe when all the Jewish immigrants joined, immigrated to Germany, maybe they invented the Reuben then, and they named it after, the tribe.
I don't think so, Tim.
Probably not, but you never know.
It's heavily debated. So it actually says it was created, some say it was created in 1914 in New York City.
What?
Yep. And then some say it was 1925 in Omaha, Nebraska.
How is this not how is this not invented in Germany? That's the real question.
We're talking about the Reuben, not sauerkraut, right?
Yes, that is the Reuben.
Sauerkraut definitely was
right.
Well, sauerkraut is definitely.
That's how we earned our famous racial slur for the Germans. The Krauts, I can say it. It's my word.
Well, according to you, I'm a swamp German, so I can say it too.
That's true. If you have any European in you, you probably have some.
It wasn't even so. The most widely accepted origin story credits a Lithuanian-born grocer named Reuben Kolofsky, who created the hot corned beef and sauerkraut combination for a late night poker game. That's the Omaha, Nebraska one.
Yeah, the other one is a German Jew named Reuben.
Arnold Reuben.
Arnold Reuben, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess.
So either way, it does seem to come from. Well, it does seem to come from the Jewish name of Reuben. Either way.
Yeah.
And let's be real, the Lithuanian guy, if he came up with it, he had to have some German influence to be putting sauerkraut into it.
Well, yeah, you never know. He could have been like half Lithuanian, half German.
Yeah. Well, it would have been like quarter, because he was also half Jewish.
Third of each.
He's half German, half Lithuanian, and half Jewish.
Or maybe he was a German
for
Jew.
1.5 totals.
Man, bear, pig.
We come up with some interesting things.
That'll be a good little clip there.
Right.
That has nothing to do with the podcast. It's perfect. It's fine. Watch the whole episode. You'll get it. It's okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Or don't, because it's us.
Yeah, because it doesn't benefit anything. That's fine. It's a good little laugh.
All right.
Well,
Genesis 30.
The biggest thing. Oh, go ahead, Peter.
I was just going to reiterate what you kind of brought up while you're reading it, which was it's kind of like payback for Jacob's deceit with his brother Esau. Now his uncle deceives him.
It's only the beginning.
Yeah. And it kind of keeps going from there.
The weird thing is that Laban didn't treat, they tried to keep Rebecca from leaving, but they didn't try that hard, so it was it's kind of weird when you get around back to Laban again on the second going around. The other thing that we should probably address is there's a whole lot of incest going on around here. First
cousin marriage wasn't frowned upon back then very much.
Well, and that goes into your cultural view of things. If you're going to tell me I can't marry all these other tribes and people, who are you leaving for me to marry?
Right.
The people of our family.
Right.
And God kind of wanted them to kind of marry within their own family, mainly for religious reasons. He didn't want them straying from him. So
Yeah.
it wasn't really like an incest thing. It was more of like I just don't want your wives, having idols to Baal or Moloch
Yeah,
with.
or like,
Right.
and then pulling you and the kids out of
Exactly.
actual
But I'm just
correct
saying,
worship.
maybe there's a reason why Esau was so easily, talked
There
out of
could
his
be something.
birthright.
There could be something to that for sure.
Well, and the Bible definitely doesn't try to hide that it is like, I think in the 4 verses it says mother's brother or like sister's son like
Yeah.
5 different times. So
Yeah, they're
it
not
was
trying to
very
hide it, at
clear.
least.
It's like, oh yeah, this is his first cousin.
Yeah, without saying it, that's just what it is.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, and then
it gets
Wasn't
better
Ab-
as it goes on.
wasn't Sarah Abraham's sister or half sister or something?
I think she was his half sister or his cousin.
I don't recall.
She was definitely related.
Yeah, they were half siblings.
Yeah. I mean, like, okay, so
So you
all
didn't
of
necessarily lie, just half lied to
Adam and
Abimelech.
Eve's children they had to. There's no
Yeah,
getting
of
around
course.
that.
Right.
And
And
as
of all the
time,
nations come from them.
and then it kind of got reset again with Noah and his sons.
Right.
Yeah,
Um,
but then they were
yeah, then the further away you get from that, the less necessary incest there is. One could
Yeah.
argue that we're far enough away here, but like I think it was more of a don't grab a wife from some rando family from the area that worships pagan gods.
Yeah, because it's not until the Mosaic laws that forbids the like close family relative marriage.
Yeah,
So we got a little bit
Once the
till we get there.
lineages have kind of spread out
Dispersed.
a little bit.
yeah.
All right. Let's see here. I'll do 30. So now we're talking about the children's. Now, when Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, she became jealous of her sister, and she said to Jacob, "Give me children, or else I die." It seems like this comes up once in a while.
Like he can do this too.
Right.
Right.
Then Jacob's anger burned against Rachel, and he said, "Am I in the place of God who has withheld from you the fruit of the womb?" She said, "Here is my maid Bilhah. Go into her that she may bear on my knees." Did I read that right? Here is my maid Bilhah. Go into her that she may bear on my knees, that through her I too may have children. Okay. So she gave him her maid Bilhah as a wife, and Jacob went into her. Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son. Then Rachel said, "God has vindicated me and has indeed heard my voice and has given me a son." Therefore she named him Dan. Rachel's maid Bilhah conceived again and bore Jacob a second son. So Rachel said, "With mighty wrestlings I have wrestled with my sister, and I have indeed prevailed." And she named him Naphtali. Naphtali.
Naphtali.
Naphtali, sure, works for me. When Leah saw that she had stopped bearing, she took her maid Zilpah and gave her to Jacob as a wife. Leah's maid Zilpah Jacob's a busy guy, man. Leah's maid Zilpah bore Jacob a son. Then Leah said, "How fortunate!" So she named him Gad. Leah's maid Zilpah bore Jacob a second son. And then Leah said, "Happy am I, for women will call me happy." So she named him Asher. Now in the days of wheat harvest, Reuben went and found mandrakes in the field and brought them to his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son's mandrakes." But she said to her, "It is a small matter for you to take my husband." "Is it a small matter for you to take my husband? And would you take my son's mandrakes also?" So Rachel said, "Therefore he may lie with you tonight in return for your son's mandrakes." You do just get passed around. When Jacob came in from the field in the evening, then Leah went out to meet him and said, "You must come in to me, for I've surely hired you with my son's mandrakes." So he lay with her that night. God gave heed to Leah, and she conceived and bore Jacob a fifth son. Then Leah said, "God has given me my wages because I gave my maid to my husband." So she named him Issachar. Leah conceived again and bore a sixth son to Jacob. Then Leah said, "God has endowed me with a good gift. Now my husband will dwell with me because I have borne him six sons." So she named him Zebulun. Zebulun. Afterwards she bore a daughter and named her Dinah. Then God remembered Rachel, and God gave heed to her and opened her womb. So she conceived and bore a son and said, God has taken away my reproach. She named him Joseph, saying, May the Lord give me another son. Now it came about, when Rachel had borne Joseph, that Jacob said to Laban, Send me away, that I may go to my own place and to my own country. Give me my wives and my children for whom I served you, and let me depart you. For you yourself know my service which I have rendered to you. But Laban said to him, If now it pleases you, stay with me. I have divined that the Lord has blessed me on your account. He continued, Name me your wages, and I will give it. But he said to him, You yourself know how I have served you, and how your cattle have fared with me. For you had little before I came in, or I'm sorry, before I came, and it has increased to a multitude. And the Lord has blessed you wherever I turn. But now, when I shall provide for my own household also, so he said, What shall I give you? And Jacob said, You shall not give me anything. If you will do this one thing for me, I will again pasture and keep your flock. Let me pass through your entire flock today, removing from there every speckled and spotted sheep, and every black one among the lambs, and the spotted and the speckled among the goats, and such shall be my wages. So my honesty will answer for me later when you come in concerning my wages. Every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats and the black among the lambs, if found with me, will be considered stolen. Laban said, Good, let it be according to your word. So he removed on that day the striped and spotted male goats and all the speckled and spotted female goats, every one with white in it, and all the black ones among the sheep, and gave them into the care of his sons. And he put a distance of 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks. Then Jacob took fresh rods of poplar and almond and plane trees, and peeled white stripes in them, exposing the white which was in the rods. He set the rods which he had peeled in front of the flocks in the gutters, even in the watering troughs where the flocks came to drink, and they mated when they came to drink. So flocks mated by the rods, and the flocks brought forth stripes speckled and spotted. Jacob separated the lambs and made the flocks face toward the striped, and all the black in the flock of Laban. And he put his own herds apart, and did not put them with Laban's flock. Moreover, when the stronger of the flock were mating, Jacob would place the rods in the sights of the flock in the gutters, so that they might mate by the rods. But when the flock was feeble, he did not put them in. So the feebler were Laban's, and the stronger were Jacob's. So the man became exceedingly prosperous, and had large flocks and females and male servants, and camels and donkeys. That was a lot of mouthful word things.
You got stuck with the long chapter.
And it's all the speckled and spotted, and
Yeah, that's always been like that section's been such a weird thing because like it starts out with Laban again deceiving Jacob and taking all the speckled and spotted and the black lambs out, so he basically didn't get anything. And then Jacob's like, I'm gonna do you one better. I'm gonna make all them speckled and all the best ones speckled and spotted, which I don't understand how that all worked out with the sticks that he peeled or whatever.
it must attract them, like they came to eat or something like that.
Yeah,
And so he
I
got
guess
them
that's a
to,
good
to
point.
congregate and mate because they were in the same areas instead of keeping them
Yeah.
separated.
It's like throwing food at them in Minecraft, I guess. It's the equivalent of these rods.
A random thing that's always popped in, not on that, but earlier in the chapter when it's talking about Reuben's mandrakes, that's always come off to me as just like a euphemism. And I don't like
According to my study Bible, mandrakes were considered like an aphrodisiac in ancient times. So
okay. So
it
I guess that
basically was.
basically is, yeah.
So what you're saying is, wait, where can I find those?
What, are you trying to increase your flocks?
Yes. I want to make sure that my progeny lives on,
But yeah, this is basically like you said, it's Laban and Jacob trying to outcon each other.
Yeah.
Right.
And Jacob eventually wins. He won?
Yeah, 31.
Yeah.
Okay. Now Jacob heard the words of Laban's sons, saying, Jacob has taken away all that was our father's, and from what was our father's he has acquired all his wealth. And Jacob saw the countenance of Laban, and indeed it was not favorable toward him, as before. Then the Lord said to Jacob, Return to the land of your fathers and to your family, and I will be with you. So Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field, to his flock, and said to them, I see your father's countenance, that it is not favorable toward him as before, or toward me as before. But the God of my father has been with me, and you know that with all of my might I have served your father. Yet your father has deceived me and changed my wages 10 times. But God did not allow him to hurt me. If he said thus, the speckled shall be your wages, then all the flocks bore speckled. And if he said thus, the streaked shall be your wages, then all the flocks bore streaked. So God has taken away the livestock of your father and given them to me. And it happened at that time, when the flocks conceived, that I lifted my eyes and saw in a dream, and behold, the rams which leaped upon the flocks were streaked, speckled, and gray spotted. Then the angel of God spoke to me in a dream, saying, Jacob. And I said, Here I am. And he said, Lift your eyes now and see. All the rams which leap on the flocks are streaked, speckled, and gray spotted. For I have seen all that Laban is doing to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed the pillar, and where you made a vow to me. Now arise, get out of this land, and return to the land of your family. Then Rachel and Leah answered and said to him, Is there still any portion or inheritance for us in your father's house? Are we not considered strangers by him? For he has sold us, and also completely consumed our money. For all these riches which God has taken from our father are really ours and our children's. Now then, whatever God has said to you, do it. And Jacob rose and set his sons and his wives on camels, and he carried away all his livestock and all his possessions which he had gained, his acquired livestock which he had gained in Paddan Aram, to go to his father's Isaac in the land of Canaan. Now Laban had gone to shear his sheep, and Rachel had stolen the household idols that were her father's. And Jacob stole away, unknown to Laban the Syrian, and that he did not tell him that he intended to flee. So he fled with all that he had. He arose and crossed the river and headed toward the mountains of Gilead. And Laban was told on the third day that Jacob had fled. Then he took his brethren with him and pursued him for 7 days' journey, and he overtook him in the mountains of Gilead. But God had come to Laban the Syrian in a dream by night and said to him, Be careful that you speak to Jacob neither good nor bad. So Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the mountains, and Laban with his brethren pitched in the mountains of Gilead. And Laban said to Jacob, What have you done that you have stolen away unknown to me, and carried away my daughters like captives taken with the sword? Why did you flee away secretly, and steal away from me, and not tell me? For I might have sent you away with joy and songs, with timbrel and harp. And you did not allow me to kiss my sons and my daughters. Now you have done foolishly in so doing. It is in my power to do you harm. But the God of your father spoke to me last night, saying, Be careful that you speak to Jacob neither good nor bad. And now you have surely gone because you greatly long for your father's house. But why did you steal my gods? Little g gods. Then Jacob answered and said to Laban, Because I was afraid, for I said, Perhaps you would take your daughters from me by force. With whomever you find your gods, do not let him live. In the presence of our brethren, identify what I have of yours and take it with you. For Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen them. And Laban went into Jacob's tent, and to Leah's tent, and into the two maids' tents, but he did not find them. Then he went out of Leah's tent, and entered Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the household idols, put them in the camel's saddle, and sat on them. And Laban searched all about the tent, but did not find them. And she said to her father, Let it not displease my lord that I cannot rise before you, for the manner of woman is with me. And he searched, but did not find the household idols. Then Jacob was angry and rebuked Laban. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, What is my trespass? What is my sin that you have so hotly pursued me? Although you have searched all my things, what part of your household things have you found? Set it here before my brethren and your brethren, that they may judge between us both. These 20 years I have been with you. Your ewes and your female goats have not miscarried their young, and I have not eaten the rams of your flock. That which was torn by beasts I did not bring to you. I bore the loss of it. You required it from my hand, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. There I was in the day the drought consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep departed from my eyes. Thus I have been in our house 20. I served you 14 years for your 2 daughters, and 6 years for your flock, and you have changed my wages 10 times. unless the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had been with me, surely now you would have sent me away empty-handed. God has seen my affliction and the labor of my hands and rebuked you last night." And Laban answered and said to Jacob, "These daughters are my daughters, and these children are my children, and this flock is my flock. All that you see is mine. But what can I do this day to these daughters, or to your children whom they have borne? Now therefore, come, let us make a covenant, you and I, and let it be a witness between you and me." So Jacob took a stone and set it up as a pillar. Then Jacob said to his brethren, "Gather stones." And they took stones and made a heap, and they ate there on the heap. Laban called it Jagar Sahadutha, but Jacob called it Gilead. And Laban said, "This heap is a witness between you and me this day." Therefore its name was called Gilead, also Mizpah, because he said, "May the Lord watch between you and me when we are absent one another. If you afflict my daughters, or if you take other wives besides my daughters, although no man is with us, see, God is witness between you and me." And Laban said to Jacob, "Here is the heap, and here is this pillar, which I have placed between you and me. This heap is a witness, and this pillar is a witness, that I will not pass beyond this heap to you, and you will not pass beyond this heap and this pillar to me for harm. The God of Abraham, the God of Nahor, the God of their father, judge between us." Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac. Then Jacob offered a sacrifice on the mountain and called his brethren to eat bread. And they ate bread and stayed all night on the mountains. And early in the morning Laban arose and kissed his sons and his daughters and blessed them. Then Laban departed and returned to his place.
So yeah, there's a lot going on here. There's a few things that stuck out to me or that kind of stand out. One being that Laban has obviously false idols, and which is kind of weird considering that,
That
that
was like the whole purpose of getting wives from their own peoples, was to try
right,
to avoid that.
right, exactly. And obviously Laban, has probably been doing this for a while.
Hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. There's just yeah, I feel like there was something else that stuck out to me too.
Well, and, like, with that, he's, like, walking the fine line because, like, he swears by God on their like, towards the end on their like, this agreement they have, but yet yeah, in verse 50, at the end of it, he says, "God is witness between you and me," and that's big G God. Like, I think that was Laban at least.
Yeah, it's like one of those weird things where a lot of people at the time, like a lot of the non-Jewish, or in this case, well, I guess he's technically not Jewish because he's like higher up on the tree than Israel.
Yeah.
But like all these people who aren't part of the God's covenant will acknowledge that he is God and that he, maybe not, they won't acknowledge that he's all powerful, but they definitely acknowledge that he is powerful, but they continue to serve these other gods too.
Yeah.
They're definitely like kind of pagan polytheist, maybe
Right.
pantheon.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like one of those weird things where you're like, I mean, clearly, I think because it seems because the Israelites are God's chosen people, so it seems like there are like these pagan gods probably were probably some form of demonic entity or something that did have some like showing of power to the people that were worshiping them, would be my guess. It doesn't really go into it because it's, talking like,
Or was capable of manipulating them.
yeah, like clearly they didn't, complete, because you think if they were just non-existent, they're pure mythical, like figments of their imagination, you'd think that once they saw actual divine power from,
They would
the
instantly
real
convert.
God of Israel, yeah, they would be like, "Hey, that one's clearly real. Can I join?"
Right.
But and some people do that, but not as many as you'd think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there's probably, if I'm sure there's a variety of things, but if you could think of it like say you had a father or something that made a deal or something along those lines, and then, their descendants, like one of the one of the parts of the deal was that their descendants had to worship this demon or whatever, so on and so forth. I mean, there's a variety of different things of why people might still not convert, even bearing witness to something that's very real.
Yeah. They
I
could just be
mean,
extraordinarily stubborn.
yeah,
There's that too. It's like, well,
if
our
we
family's been doing this for generations and we're not changing nothing.
well, and we jump to the New Testament, and the Pharisees literally watched Jesus do miracles, and there's other people that literally watched him
Yeah.
do it that didn't follow him. So
Just
it's not
boggles my
exactly
mind.
the same, but
If
yeah.
I saw, works and wonders today, like I would fall on my face and probably sob.
Yeah.
You know, it just boggles my mind.
Well, now you could just claim it was AI.
True.
One, it's interesting. It's not quite the topic, but getting into that, you get into the Beatitudes of Matthew. I think 5 is where that begins, and like there's the one beatitude of blessed are the ones who that don't see but still believe, and like that is, I mean, that it should be basically all of us now. We don't get to see. That's talking about the miracles and the wonders that have been done, and like those of us that don't get to see those yet, we still believe in Christ and like his deity ship, whatever that term would be, because that's not right. But like, yeah, it's just very interesting.
Well, if you can,
Deification?
There you go. I think that's it.
trying to remember his name, and I'm
I'm
struggling.
not good with English.
None of us
Welcome
are.
to the club. So, do you recall like when Jesus is in Capernaum, right? And the guy he just gets promoted. I can't remember what his name or his title is, but he's basically like the governor of Capernaum or whatever, right? And his son is afflicted, his servant or whatever.
Yeah,
And
Gaius, right?
Gaius,
Is
yeah.
it Gaius?
And he goes to Jesus like, I know you can do it. And he has more faith in what Jesus can do than even Jesus' own disciples, it seems like. And Jesus is like, see, a Gentile
Yep.
has this much faith, and Gaius is like, no, you don't even have to go to my house. It's just if you say it, it'll be done. And and it's man, what a time that must have been.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That feels like it might be a good stopping point here. What do you guys think?
Yeah, because the story shifts a little bit with we get a little bit. I think it's like a chapter or 2 of Jacob and Esau. Kind of this whole thing. Jacob is afraid to go see Esau and all
Right.
because he sends him all the gifts or whatever.
Yeah.
And then when they finally meet,
Please don't
Esau's
kill
like,
me.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And he says like, which really thinking of Jacob, like the last time he saw Esau, and we'll get into this obviously later, but like he has every right to believe that Esau is going to kill him because that's literally what Esau said. And
But it's
I
also
don't know
been 20
exactly
years.
Jacob's. Yeah.
Yeah, he's had time to cool off.
Yeah.
He's like,
Right.
well, he did steal everything from me, but he's the only brother
But
I
did he
got,
really?
so.
Because after he left, Esau could just take everything.
Well, he probably got his birthright back. You're probably
Yeah.
right about that, but his blessing was still stolen.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, it's interesting because like I have like a family Bible study that we're going through Genesis and this, and like I asked my wife about this. I was like, "That's so weird." Like Isaac was deceived by Jacob for the birthright. Once Jacob or Isaac found out that he was deceived by Jacob, why didn't he just be like, "No, I renounce that,"
Yeah.
and like I'm gonna give it to Esau, who actually deserves it, and like. My wife and I went back and forth, and it was kind of like back in that day, like you were only as good as your word. And if you like, and that's what we landed on. We don't have like actually any biblical proof of that.
Right.
But like if you were to just go back on your word, then like nobody would take you serious anymore, is what we kind of landed on. So it's just like, it's just a weird process because even being wronged out of something, I think it was like the right thing of like, well, I said this, so like I have to hold up my end of the bargain, essentially.
I think part of it would be too also that he had directly witnessed God's word being true all the time too, and God's blessings being true, so that he probably realized that, it's not something that you can just sort of like, take back all willy-nilly and be,
Yeah.
kind of, flamboyant with it. You have to it needs to actually be a bond, and there is real power there beyond,
Yeah.
beyond just like the power of your own reputation, but like actual divine power behind it too.
True. Yeah.
I'm sure there's multifacets to the whole thing, right? Because it's like obviously we weren't around in the time, so we don't know what culture was like necessarily, right? We also didn't have that kind of we don't have that kind of relationship with God necessarily. Um at least I don't have vivid dreams or anything like that, so there's just probably a lot going on there that maybe doesn't make it into the book just because it's so ancient.
But also keep in mind this is literally his chosen people and the patriarchs of his chosen people. So he's going to have a much more direct relationship with Abraham, Isaac, Jacob than he is going to be with,
Plebes like
unrelated
us.
swamp Germans like thousands of years later.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, again, to go back to it, it was all part of his plan to begin with. So even if it doesn't make sense to us of why didn't he just take it back? God, obviously, as we read farther through Genesis, there's a whole reason for all of this to happen the way that it did. But yeah, it's just it's one of those kind of we talked about earlier of the weird random things that our brains think of or come up with to question. That's
Yeah.
just doesn't
It's
necessarily make sense.
Well,
Right.
it's like you said earlier, it's finite minds like ours trying to comprehend infinite God
Yeah.
with the combination of he's infinite and can see all, but at the same time, he also has to work around the random stuff humans do with their free will too. So he has to make it fit in with our weird eccentricities. That's probably
Yep.
where all the weird stuff comes from that makes the least amount of sense to us. Is probably a direct result of just humans making bafflingly stupid decisions that he has to make work.
Yep.
I mean,
Which is not out of his wheelhouse to be able to do, but it looks just really random to us. Again,
Yeah.
with the not being able to fully understand everything.
They're pea brains. We can't quite
Right.
figure it out.
For as wise as we eventually become, is still just a mote of dust compared to the wisdom that God possesses.
Yeah,
That might
we're
be an
still
understatement.
really dumb.
That it really might. But all right. Do you want to close this out with a prayer, Nick?
Sure, you guys want me to close?
You seem to be the best at it.
It's not about being best, just speaking.
He's the
But
most
yeah, I got it.
comfortable.
Yeah, there you go. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for the blessing of just allowing us to get together and learn more about your word and share and fellowship together. And we just pray that you will continue to guide us in our personal lives and in our families and help us to lead our families and then also just to share you out in our community and in all facets of our lives. We pray for all the people that are on our prayer list, all the different things going on in their lives. We thank you for all the good things that we've gotten reported on the prayer list over the past couple of weeks. We just pray that you continue to work in our lives in that sense and in our immediate families and those that are on our prayer list as well. And we just overall pray that your will be done in all things, Lord. And we ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
So
Awesome.
yeah, that was so yeah, obviously we skipped last week. Things got a little hectic for a couple of us, I think. Next week, I think we got I think we're gonna try to record early-ish, maybe if we can. We'll see how
Yeah,
that
if
goes.
everyone's still down. Yeah, if everyone's available. Was it Memorial Day?
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
For those of you watching in the States,
Right,
which is probably all of our viewers.
right, and maybe we'll have a little chunk if we're feeling spunky. Maybe we'll discuss Memorial Day too, and do that thing too. Be a good day for it. Reminds me, I didn't see anything come through either in an email or in comments, which isn't all that surprising just yet. But just a reminder for anybody that wants to be included in our prayers, you can absolutely comment on any of our videos, and we will include you in our prayers when we do our prayer at the end of our videos. And again, if you don't feel comfortable just throwing your stuff out on the internet, don't blame me at all. You can send an email into, and you can reach us here at scratch2scripture@gmail.com. I'll try and put it down in the description so you can just click a link and be done there. Yeah, that's all. That's it. That's all I got. You guys got anything else?
Don't have a good week.
Yeah,
Ditto.
absolutely. Have a good week and God bless. Take care.